Welcome, everyone. Here we are, the Leadership Excellence Podcast with Dr. Tom Lawless and George Trachilis. Today's topic really is committing to self-development, but we're going to call it the leadership trap because that's what it is for you if you don't commit to self-development. So when you don't think you need to improve, you are declining as a leader and probably as a human being. So let's get started with a little bit of the topic. What is the leadership trap and committing to self-development? Committing to self-development is a countermeasure for those who have not committed to self-development. So here we have Dr. Tom Lawless, who committed to self-development all his life, and myself, who resisted it for many years until I got back into the Toyota way and doing things in a certain way of learning and teaching. So let's start with Dr. Tom. Tom, tell me a little bit about why you don't have to commit to self-development. It's because you're already there. Why? How?
Let's put it this way. I grew up in an area in South Omaha, and in my neighborhood, a lot of people, it was at that time, a lot of guys they went for their GEDs because they started working right away. They worked before they graduated, so money was more important. For me, my lifelong goal was to get out of that. And I also felt like, okay, if I sacrifice myself, meaning my time and resources, and make myself better, then my kid, or, at that time I thought kids, but my kid, it'll come natural to them. Mm-hmm. And it did. For him, it was like getting a bachelor's degree was expected. For him, getting a master's degree was expected. Not from me, but from within himself, because I had already had my bachelor's, had my master's, and by the time he graduated from high school, I was going to start my PhD. And, people ask me, they act like, this is like it was a big decision for me. It wasn't. For me, it was in the military and in civilian. It was always trying to make myself better. Not better than other people, just better for myself. I needed to make sure that I knew how to lead, how to take care of people, just everything interests me. So every day I'm trying to learn. I get on Udemy, I get on Coursera, I listen to George. I'm always trying to improve myself, right?
Well, that's funny. I have a completely different experience, Tom. So myself I came to Canada when I was 3 years old. So being an immigrant in Canada and having that immigrant father who worked really hard. We had a restaurant, right? And I worked hard in the restaurant. I was 9 years old taking window orders, which meant I was customer facing at 9, 10 years old, collecting money. So I knew a lot about connecting with people. The only reason I went to university and doing my engineering degree was because my dad told me one day, as he was in contracting at the time, general contractor, he says, George, these engineers charge way too much money for just a stamp. They just stamp my drawing and they charge me $300. You need to go become a civil engineer. And I thought, wow, okay, I guess I'll go become a civil engineer. I was told what to do. And so my father was like, okay, he directed me. That's the only reason I got into engineering. I moved into mechanical later, which I loved. And then I moved into industrial engineering later, which I loved. So I was pushed in a direction, and then I kind of went in my own direction. But it was not, I wanted to learn. As a matter of fact, when I finished university, I said, that's it. That's all the learning I'm going to do. Because it was a tough program, right? So that was it. I was done with learning. And then years later, I cannot imagine not learning every day and improving every day. So I had to, kicking and screaming to some degree, I had to move into this world of continuous improvement because that was my craft. Okay, so big background differences, Tom. I just can't imagine. Yeah, I was going to ask you why you became a doctor. Like, what was the need behind it? And you're saying, look, I need to always improve.
It wasn't for a certain reason. It was just, I mean, I graduated from my PhD program when I was 56. So
wow, yeah,
it's like it wasn't going to do much for me, but it did a lot, on learning, right?
Yeah.
To me, it was just fun. I know that's hard to believe, right?
Was that the time I took you for a drink?
Yes.
We were in Washington together.
I was with you the day that I passed, that I graduated. Yeah,
I remember it cost me a little bit of money.
Yeah, because I was gonna have the best scotch.
And we did. It was really good. So look, Tom, for our listeners, now they're in one of two boats. They either do this on their own, they committed to improve themselves, they are not falling into that leadership trap that we talked about, or they haven't, and they're like me at one point in my life where I'm done with learning. I need to teach. Like people need to ask me questions so I can impart my knowledge on them. So one way or another, they need some help. What do they do? Now, I remember having Norman Bodek as a coach, and he said something wise to me. He says, George, you're reading a lot of books, or you're listening to books on audio. What are you doing with them? Like, I listened to 300 different books in 1 year or year and a half as I was walking the streets of Florida, getting my exercise. And he says, if you're not taking one thing from each chapter of a book and incorporating it into your life, you're not doing anything. You're picking up knowledge, but you're not picking up any experience, or, you're not demonstrating that you understand and you can learn something. So book clubs are one thing our listeners can, get into. Get into like a book club and use other people, or read a book yourself and then write down what you're going to do from that chapter. So what else can they do, Tom?
One thing that I've always done is I reflect every day. I sit back and I not only reflect on the day, but on my life to that point. And how can I improve myself? And it's really, how can I improve myself as a leader? How can I improve myself for the betterment of my people, of the people that I'm leading, right? So, yeah, every time I read or listen to something, I might get a course, I might get a course in Udemy or whatever, just to listen to one section or to watch one section, because that one section is, for me, it's learning beyond, right? It's learning what I already know. Sometimes I'll do these things just to regurgitate, just to get to remind myself what I may have learned in the past, because you can't retain everything, right? So it's some of it is just a review.
Yeah, that's funny, because I can't remember when, but I thought Google is my best friend, right? So Joanne asked me, like, who's that actor from or actress from? We're watching a movie. I'll Google it up and I'll say, okay, from this show and this show. It's like automatic. I'm a genius. She doesn't know that I touched my phone, so she thinks I'm a movie buff. But look, Google's one thing, and using technology is one thing, but getting mentored, that's something else. You really have to be in that zone to say, look, I got a goal. And if you have a goal, get there. Get to your goal. Give it a date. Get inspired. And then think about what people can help you. So get mentored. And then at some point, you're going to mentor others. I remember in 2008, I was working my consulting business, doing very good. And I said, I want to give back to the engineers at the U of M. Right? So U of M being University of Manitoba, not Michigan, but it's still U of M. So I wasn't going to correct myself. But here's the beautiful thing. I taught continuous improvement and problem solving at the University for Engineers. And I had to learn so much just to get the syllabus together and teach the topics. It's like I needed to relearn everything I thought I knew in the first place. So challenge yourself in some way to do something, give back to society, give back to others. I mean, teach somebody something. That would be really good. What are your thoughts?
I completely agree. In the military, as a leader, you're always mentoring subordinates. So it's coaching and mentoring, right? They might go to a school, but when they go to a school or they're trained in something, they know the basics. It's up to their leadership to mentor them and guide them in the right direction. And I think mentorship on top of the training is coaching and mentoring is key. You might have all of these things in your mind, but how do you use them? So the coaching and mentoring, and believe me, it never stops, right? Because to this day, I look at my mentors. I have my coaches. If you're a leader and you don't have a coach or a mentor, you should find one, because every successful leader has a coach or a mentor.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, in sports, and look at Shohei Ohtani, or any sport for that matter, look at Tiger Woods in golf. Everybody who's the best at their craft have a coach. Now, why don't we do it in the work life? And as a matter of fact, I've come across a couple people who swear by using a coach, who use me as their coach. And I'm thinking, wow, you're going to pay this kind of money without the corporation footing the bill. You're going to pay this kind of money to develop yourself. Good for you, right? So that's the interesting part. We don't do it, and we should do it. Now, one of the things when you're going through the process of learning, you should learn about yourself. This is like key. I remember the Johari window. I think it's like 4 quadrants. One is what you know about yourself and what you don't know about yourself. And the other axis is what others know about you and what others don't know about you. And there's 4 quadrants. What you want to do is open up what you know about yourself by getting some insight of what others know about you and you don't know about yourself. So ask others. Ask others what you're really good at, what you're not so good at. Like, be open. Listen after you ask the question. Don't interfere. Don't interrupt. Say, am I the best in the world at this, if that's your goal? Am I the best at doing this? And if not, what can I do to improve? Like, use people that you trust and you've got some, faith in to tell you the truth, right? And then you open up this Johari window and you'll know more about yourself. So this is really good. Any other insights, Tom?
Oh, I mean, this is a topic I could go on for hours on, as I'm sure you can too. I mean, I follow, one of our great mentors was Ritzio Shingo, but I also follow Deming. Dr. Deming is the man credited for teaching the Japanese quality after World War II. And, he said that learning is a lifelong, or learning is not compulsory, but neither is survival.
Yeah.
Right. So self-development's a lifelong pursuit. You're always trying to gain more knowledge. And in my case, it's not that I wanted to be better than anybody else. I just wanted to be better myself, be the best I can be.
Right. So the question is for our listeners, do you think you need to improve? And if the answer is no, well, go to the next step and you got to commit. This is like, I don't care how you get there. You got to commit to developing yourself before you can develop others, because you're not a great example. So I'll give you an example with the Hirata method in particular. The Hirata method says, before you change your environment, you have to change yourself. How are you going to do that? 1, find a service at home. Do something at home. And ever since I heard that, I thought, okay, yeah, you know what? Life is miserable when my wife is miserable. Right? Life is just completely miserable. So what did I do? I made a commitment to clean the dishes. I always cooked because I had that restaurant and I knew how to cook. I always cooked. But cleaning up after I cooked, that was annoying for me. And you really shouldn't do it for yourself, but it was also annoying for her because she doesn't like doing the dishes. So I clean the dishes every day. Years go by. I add more and more I don't know. Is that self-development? Absolutely. More stuff on the list. I do the toilets now. So it's amazing. I did the toilet this morning. I thought, that's a interesting smell. It's root beer with that blue stuff. It's root beer when I scrub that toilet. Interesting. I wonder how many people go and buy root beer after they scrub toilets. So I'm scrubbing the toilet now every day or every second day. And the improvement continues to come, but it's not enough. Joanna's sending me now videos on how I can improve further, which I love and I don't love, but let's go with I love it. I love it because it's a challenge. The last video was don't use her brain. There was a guy talking a little bit about, hey, honey, where's the screwdriver, or where is this, or where is that? And then he picks it apart. He says, you are using your spouse's brain. Stop doing that. They're not a computer. Do it for yourself. Stop asking questions like this. Figure it out. Take more interest in where you put things so that you don't have to ask the question of where is that. So I'm loving the fact that she's sending me videos, right? So that's on a personal note. I can become better and I can make my household better. Then there's work. So what are you going to do at work? And there's so many people I've talked to and influence them to do something not for themselves at work, but for others. So I'll mention a name, Jose Santana. He's a good friend. Plus, he used to run a shop, and he remembered, what am I going to do? He even asked some people, and they said, we would love when we come off our coffee break or go to coffee that the coffee's made. So he started making a commitment 15 minutes before the coffee break to go and make fresh coffee for everybody coming off the floor. And he was an instant success after that. But do something at work. Now, my work purpose or my work service is creating open window 64 charts for executives. I do that at no cost because I want to see them succeed and I want them to learn about this tool, which is just amazing. I mean, anybody should be able to go to the Harada app and find my link and use me wherever I've got time. So that's my work service. So improving yourself at home and at work is where it starts. Then you can build your routines from there. So any thoughts on that?
No, I love the 64 chart. Honestly, before I ever even saw the 64 chart, in my mind on how I progressed, that's really, that concept is what I used. Here's your goal. What are your sub goals, and then what are the tasks to get to those sub goals? And so you have a plan on how you're going to attack to better yourself, right? Because everybody's we're all capable of learning. And it's like growing up, people used to say, and I'm sure they still do, you can't take that away from you. Or nobody can take that away from you on learning, right?
Yeah. There was a commercial just recently I heard, Tom, and the commercial was, somebody said, now that somebody is me, just so you know. Somebody said, whether you say you can or whether you say you can't, you are right. That's a commercial. I said it, just so we're clear. I said it many times because it's all about the brain. So if you have the wrong attitude, you failed at the beginning. And I'll tell you what executives look for is people with the right attitude. Can you do it? Do you have a I will try mentality at least? At a minimum. You don't have to say, I'm going to make it happen, and, I've never done it before, but I'll make it. Even that's a good attitude. But if your attitude is, I don't think it'll work, well, you're done before you even start because they won't have you on their team. Yeah. So any other final comments before we wrap up our session on the leadership trap when you don't think you need to improve, which means you really should start thinking about committing to self-development? Any other comments?
Just the only thing I can really say is look in that mirror, right? Because what you see is what you're getting. You can always improve it.
Yeah. It reminds me of every system delivers exactly what it's supposed to.
Yes.
So, the results are a matter of, what you say, what you do, and your routines. we'll get to routines at some point in the future and how to design them, because that's critical. But for the next podcast, let's talk a little bit about your self-development as a coach.
Oh,
So
yeah.
learn to develop others, or coach and develop others will be our topic, and we'll come up with some funny or interesting catchphrase why you need to coach. And your attitude is everything. So change your attitude. And now I used to hear that, change your attitude, or change something, and it would reinforce that what I'm doing is correct, not what I'm listening to. But I'm telling you now, this is important. If you focus on yourself and improving, others will do the same around you. Do it the most efficient way possible, which is work on yourself. Be an example for others.
Absolutely.
All right. We'll see you guys next week. And next week's topic, coach and develop others. Thank you, Dr. Tom Lawless.
Thank you.